Previous series of Master League Story Mode have been very much focused on the cult of the manager. We've had the passionate one, the legendary one, the comedy one, the trailblazing one, and most recently, the intellectual one. And sure, we've had a lot of fun building the legacies of these individuals, but I felt that this year we need a reminder that football clubs are bigger than any one man or woman. Football clubs are a sacred thing, passed on from generation to generation, often acting as the glue that holds communities together, providing a positive focus and giving us a reason to put aside our differences in the name of sport. Managers come and go, but a football team and everything they represent to their fans is something far more important. So with this in mind, I made it my quest this year to find a team that we can truly get behind, fall in love with, and take to the very top. This search led me to a part of the world where the importance of football clubs, even football itself, beats just about anywhere else on the planet. And this is where we find ourselves for Season 6, the home of football, the birthplace of the beautiful game, and a country where football is not just a pastime, but a religion. So to tell the story of our chosen team, we are going to have to go way back, way back, to the birth of Brazilian football. As usual, so bloody typical, it was us, the British, who not for the first time, nor the last, introduced a sport to a country who would then go on to do it just so much better and more successfully than us. In fact, it was this man, Scotsman Thomas Donohoe, who was in 1894 the first person to mark out a pitch and organise a quick kickabout with some of his local chums, lighting a touch paper that would burn brightly. Yeah, thanks for that, Tom, thanks. In hindsight, we really should have just kept football to ourselves. And just 6 years after Wee Tommy's kickabout, your new second team, our team for this series, was born. Ponte Preta. Translation, the Black Bridge. So why was I attracted to Ponte Preta? Well, first of all, they're the oldest football club still active in any Brazilian league. How old, you ask? Old enough that their original kits included a rather dashing white tie. You don't see enough formal neckwear as part of football kits anymore. It is a shame. Ponte Preta were founded on the 11th of August 1900 by 3 students who named the club after a black railway bridge overlooking their pitch. For some context, 1900 is the same year that West Ham, Ajax and Bayern Munich were founded. So it's fair to say that Ponte Preta have some pretty deep roots. Not only are they the oldest side in the Brazilian leagues, but they were the first club in Brazil to accept black players, who they included in their team from day one. This stance of racial equality was certainly not the norm in Brazil in 1900, the year of Ponte Preta's formation. This was a period in Brazilian history where the gulf between the white haves and the black and brown have-nots was significant. Football in Brazil at this time was the sport of the white elite, with black players banned from competition and considered technically inferior. Ponte Preta fought against this as a club, and it was their efforts amongst those of others that helped bring about the improved racial equality seen in Brazilian football today. An equality that began on the football pitches but was strong enough to help unify the people of Brazil as a single race. Such is the power and importance of Brazilian football. So, history, check. Ethics, check. We're off to a great start, but let's find out a little bit more about where the Black Bridge resides. Ponte Preta are based in the city of Campinas, which is situated in the state of Sao Paulo in the southeast of Brazil. It is home to just over 1 million people, making it the 14th most populated city in Brazil. And for those of you not too hot on your city population stats, that is a fair old whack of people by any standard. For a British comparison, it's a couple of 100,000 more people than Birmingham. Elsewhere, cities including Dallas and Prague match up closely in terms of numbers. Basically, this is no small town club. I also like the sound of their local habit of serving their sandwiches cut into bite-sized pieces, which they refer to as the angel mouth cut, a technique I'm absolutely sold on. Of course, the most important landmark, as far as at least half the city is concerned, is the Estadio Moises Lucarelli, aka the Majestoso, the Majestic Stadium, the 3rd largest stadium in Brazil. Not anymore, but it was when it was built in 1948. Built by the hands of its supporters, no less, the Majestoso is the product of a proper community club, with the blood, sweat and tears of its fans quite literally part of its foundations. This rustic and typically Brazilian stadium is located right by a railway line in such a way where it is possible to see passing trains when inside the stadium, and according to the fans, when the train passes by during a game, it is a sign of good luck to come for the home team. Something we may need. Come game day, you will find tens of thousands of very loud Ponte Preta fans, known as the Ponte Pretanos. You'll also see them waving flags adorned with the club's mascot, Macaca, originally a female monkey, now quite often a gorilla, but either way you look at it, an elegant FU to racist opposing fans, and a great example of the age-old tactic of owning your own insult and turning it into something that unites and inspires. and Ponte Preta have certainly owned it. In fact, they've constructed an entire family of monkey characters that, much like the tiny sandwich bites, I'm completely on board with. Their crosstown rivals are the fans of the other Campinas side, Guarani, who they meet in the Derby Campineiro, and it is a tasty one with some very, very naughty boys involved. It's renowned as one of the fiercest derbies in Brazilian football, and they're good at that sort of thing. Or bad, depending on how you look at it. They first met in 1912, so they've had over a century to build a real dislike of each other, and the derbies are preceded by a week of tension, provocations and fighting on the streets of Campinas. So, we had history and ethics on our list, and we can add to that a huge city with only 2 teams who really deserve a local side competing at the highest level. We've also found a beautiful historic stadium filled with a passionate fan base who have built this club themselves, and to top it off we've got a bitter local rival playing in the same league. We have definitely found a team that we can get behind for this series, and I for one cannot wait to get going. So, what are we trying to achieve with Ponte Preta? Well, in recent years the bridge have yo-yoed around the leagues. They were last promoted to the Brazilian top flight, Serie A, in 2014, only to be relegated again 3 years later. Although the sheer number of cups and weird variations and rebrandings of leagues over the last 100 years make me not 100% confident in this claim, I'm fairly certain that Ponte Preta have never won the top honours in the Brazilian league, nor have they even reached the finals of the Copa Brazil. Still nothing to their name after 120 years. Ponte Preta are a team based on principles, family and history, and goddammit, they deserve to win something. And that is the simple but effective plan for this series. Also, Guarani, our bitter rivals, and I didn't mention this, won the Serie A in 1978, so we have to get one of them at least to shut them up down the pub. So there we are, that's it, that's our team. Let's get into the oh no, hang on, yeah, we do need a manager. Actually, I've got a great one in mind. Our manager for this series was born just 250 miles from Campinas, in the famous city of Rio de Janeiro. He began life as Arthur, then Arthurzinho, aka Little Arthur. Arthurzinho then became Arthur Zico, then Zico, and finally Zico. A player so good, the great Pele once said, throughout the years the one player that came closest to me was Zico. High praise indeed. Zico is regarded as one of the greatest playmakers of all time and easily one of the best free kick takers in history. Zico started his career at the team he supported as a child, Flamengo, and eventually became a legendary figure at the Maracanã after overcoming the usual plight of the mercurial yet diminutive number 10. Oh, he's not strong enough, he's not big enough, oh. Once everyone realised that despite being 5'7", he was a bit good at football, he went on to score 333 goals at the famous Maracanã Stadium alone, and guided Flamengo to 4 league titles, 1 Copa Libertadores and a Club World Cup. Zico is perhaps best known for his role in one of the most exciting international teams of all time, the 1982 Brazil World Cup side that dazzled Spanish crowds with a thrilling attacking style of football that marked the first appearance of the Joga Bonito we know today, the uniquely Brazilian style of beautiful football. A style often at the expense of anything resembling a defence, and often at the expense of winning, as turned out to be the case for Zico in '82, as Brazil crashed out to Italy despite only needing a draw, but they just wouldn't bloody stop attacking, would they? They didn't win the World Cup in 1982, but does anyone know who did? No, nobody cares. But people care about this Brazil side, and at its heart was our man Zico, at that point arguably the best footballer on the planet. Zico's career was sadly stifled by injuries, although he did manage a casual 59 goals in 73 appearances for Udinese. And he ended his time as a player at Kashima Antlers in the J-League, where he scored this absolute cracker, before making the switch to management in 2002, where he took charge of the Japanese national team despite very little management experience. He was able to guide Japan to an Asian Cup win in 2004 before moving to Fenerbahce in 2006, where he managed to win both the Turkish League and Cup competitions in his first season there, before guiding them to a Champions League quarter-final the following year. After resigning from Fenerbahce, his management career sadly began to drift a little aimlessly, with stints at CSKA Moscow, Olympiacos, the Iraqi national team and FC Goa proving unsuccessful. He's clearly a talented manager, just one who has gone a little astray. So I feel now is the perfect time for Zico to move back to his homeland and join forces with the Black Bridge to bring joy to their fans as he did to so many Brazilians during his playing career. And no time like the present, as Ponte Preta have just sacked Jorginho, their current, ex-manager now. They need a proven manager with a winning track record who can bring beautiful football to the Majestoso and trophies to the loyal Ponte Pretanos. And I think Zico is just the man for the job. Hello and welcome to episode 1 of series 6 of Master League Story Mode. I can't believe it's been 6 series. Wow, how time flies. But it is great to be back with you and I'm very excited to get into this one. I hope you enjoyed the intro. I hope you are happy about the team and the manager that we've got. I think we've got the perfect combination and I think it's going to be great. I think we're all going to be Ponte Pretanos by the end of this series. I think I might even order a shirt. Or maybe a Zico 82 Brazil. Anyway, this is irrelevant. Before we get into the action and kick things off for this series, a few things to mention. For those of you new to the channel, welcome aboard. It is a pleasure. For those of you watching this series for the first time, what is Master League Story Mode? Well, essentially, we take a real life manager, we employ their tactics, we sign players from teams they've got connections with. We try and keep things a little bit realistic, not perfectly realistic, but generally we try and keep it within the bounds of what might actually happen in real life. But you'll get more of a feel for that as we go through this sort of setup in this first episode. You'll understand a bit more what I'm talking about. And before we do get into that setup, I've got a few thank yous to make. First of all, thank you to the patrons, those very, very kind people who donate every month to this channel via Patreon. There's a link in the description if you're interested. One of the main perks of that is you get to vote on decisions in the series, in this series and the Become a Legend series. So they were involved in decision making for this series already, and there will be more to come on transfers, on, maybe if we want to move clubs. That probably won't happen in this one, but yeah, anything down to tactics or other decisions, they get the choice. They get to make the decisions. Last season, they did a pretty good job. They did make us leave Leeds, which in the end, maybe I wasn't a huge fan of, but we had a good time at Liverpool. We won something in the end for Marcelo Bielsa, so it was all fine. So thank you to them. I think there's 30-ish of them at the moment. Absolute legends, every single one of them. Quick shout out as well to PES Universe, you maybe will see eventually when we get into, well, I don't even know if we'll really see any of the kits, but trust me, the option file is top drawer, and if you're looking for real kits, real teams, sort all of that stuff out, then PES Universe have got you covered, so go and check them out. And a final thank you before we get going to all of you who are about to go and smash that like button. Oh, I can't believe I just said that. Look, I don't normally say this, but, it would be great for all of you who've watched this series. Oh, I don't normally say that, and it was painful to get out, but for all of you who've watched Master League Story Mode over the years and you want to know how to give back, liking this video right now would be a huge help to me. I don't ask that normally, certainly don't ask it every episode, but today is the day for you to warm up those liking buttons. Have it a little click, just a little click. There you go, and you've made everyone a little bit happier. Hopefully we can get this to 500 likes, that'd be amazing. That'd be really, really good. So yeah, there we are. Helps me out, helps me with the algorithm, and helps me feel like a special little boy, which is always good. Right, that is plenty of waffling. Let's get into it. And I'm particularly excited to start Master League because I know there are a few new little bits. Ooh, it's a thriller. Right, let's do this. So as you will now be aware after that intro, we are playing in the Brazilian second division, the Campeonato Brasileiro Serie B. Now there's going to be some really, really poor Portuguese pronunciation from me. I really struggled when we were at Benfica with Gabigol in whatever series that was, and I got a lot of information on how to pronounce things. You don't pronounce it in the way that you would with Spanish, which I guess is sort of the default option when you're reading these sort of words as an Englishman, but I'm going to try and learn some of it. It's all about some of the letters not doing what they should, isn't it? But anyway, we're in Serie B, the second division, and we know who we're playing with. So this is a league with a lot of interesting teams, some that I've heard of. Botafogo, I've heard of. Figueirense, I've heard of. Vitoria, maybe I've heard of. But anyway, we're at Ponte Preta, the Black Bridge. Look at that. 11th of the 8th, 1900. That is history right there. And this is the team we're going to be playing with. We'll get into that a little bit more in a minute when we get through to the tactics and everything. But first of all, we have to choose a manager. And as we know, we've already chosen one. So, I mean, these are pretty impressive, aren't they? These manager models, they look great. Romario, Bebeto, a lot of Brazilians. I'm not quite sure what the thought process behind choosing these was, but I'm very happy that Zico is in there, an actual manager, one of the best players of all time, and someone who will certainly be looking to play an exciting brand of football at Ponte Preta, which is going to be good, hopefully, if I can adapt to it. So there he is. He looks sort of like someone's uncle. This isn't a particularly kind rendering of him. I mean, he has put on a few pounds. He is getting on, but they've certainly gone to town on the wrinkles and the amount of chins. So yeah, Uncle Arthur. Isn't that the guy from Only... Oh, no, that's Uncle Albert. Anyway, Uncle Arthur, Zico, Artie, who knows what we're going to call him. What we do know is he is our man. So let's select that, and there we are. Manager details, well, that's all fine. I think he's definitely not a sportswear manager, and that is a truly awful bit of sportswear as well. That is like early noughties top man tat. I wouldn't be seen dead in that, nor would Zico. It's either a suit or a shirt, but I think a suit's going to be a bit much really in Brazil, especially in the summer. So we'll go with just a shirt. I think that's good. A bit baggy. Don't like the collar, but we'll take it. This isn't a fashion show, is it? Right, so into the admin. This is made slightly more interesting this year with some new additions. It does remain to be seen how effectively they've been implemented, but as I spoke about earlier, this is something that the patrons have voted on. So I put this to them about a week ago and I said, what sort of settings would you like us to use? And they replied. So, transfer frequency, we're keeping that at normal. So this is really going to dictate how many transfers all of the comm teams make, rather than how difficult it is for us to make signings, I think. That will be decided by negotiation difficulty. The patrons decided that normal should stay there. Now, starting budget, well, we were stung badly in the last series. Our lead side received absolutely no money throughout their entire time with Marcelo Bielsa. So it was a gift to me. The patrons decided that we should go for fairly large starting budget. So I don't know what that's going to be. I haven't really tested this, but it should be good. And I have heard that Ponte Preta have recently found a Arab prince to fund some transfers for them. So yeah, there we are. Now, first window transfers, this is one that split the patrons. This was actually quite close. We did go with enabled in the end. But I can understand why quite a lot of people said disabled. It's interesting, you have to deal with the team that you've got, but I love signing. I just love making transfers, don't you? That's one of the best bits, so I think I'm pretty glad that we went with enabled there. Salary display, I'm just so used to annual. I like the idea of weekly. We'll probably use that and become a legend, but we're going to stick with annual there just so I don't have to think too much. Match level, obviously, it's superstar, always superstar. Who knows how difficult that's going to be this year. Legend would have always been too much of a stretch last year. It probably would be this year, I don't know. Match time, I think it's about 11 or 12 minutes I normally go for. Currency unit, now tempted to go with the Brazilian currency, the real. But, part of me just does love the good old British pound. Come on, we've got a Brazilian manager, a Brazilian club. We probably should go with the local currency. And then transfer window stops. Yep, only when there is progress. Boom, right, there we go. So this is the good stuff. We're into the cutscenes. This is new. There's Zico turning up. Looks like he's having a tough night. And those sleeves are definitely too long for him. Anyway, we'll stop talking about that. And here he is. Hello, nice to meet you. Yep, that's you. Your name. Yep, you with the name. Yes, of course. I know you all so well. Yep. Who are these guys? And this guy. Hi. And they've got their coffees. A lot of coffees involved in these cutscenes, I've noticed. Presumably in Brazil, this is going to be really, really good quality coffee. And there's a... Yes, of course, you. It's... yeah. Chris, is it? Jack? No. Anyway, we'll get to know all of them. And there's the owner, presumably. There's Zico. I remember when all of this was Fields. No, Zico, this has always been a training... Anyway, so, there we are. A little walk around the training ground. It looks like a good facility here at Ponte Preta. So Zico's going to be happy with that. And here we are into the season objectives. Zico's got a laptop out. I think there's a couple of tablets, a couple of laptops. Is that a new coffee? I don't know. It quite possibly is. The owner would like to discuss the objectives for the season. We're done languishing in the lower divisions. I agree. That's totally the point of this series. We want to progress. And we want to do whatever it takes to get to Serie A. Yeah, that's cool. Yep, happy with that. I'm not sure if I trust him. He's not got a very trustworthy face, the owner. I do like the sort of chubby guy on the left. He looks like a kind man. Hopefully we can deal with him. So, aim to be promoted. I don't know if we want to promise the league title at this point. Although we were recently in Serie A, so we've probably got a decent chance. But I'm going to get us promoted at any cost. I think. I wonder what would happen if we said finish around mid-table. You might say, oh, actually, you're not the man for us. So yeah, promoted at any costs. Zico's had a little think, and as always, the goal is to be promoted. But we're not concerned about winning the title. We just want to, do the right thing and go up. Oh, look, there's a Ponte Preta mug. Nice, have to get one of them. So, we all happy with that? We're all happy. Are we? Yep. That settles it. That settles it, does it? So you weren't 100% sure before that. Good. Well, yeah, I think this will work. Despite me having a slight mistrust for you. But this guy, I like this guy. He's got a tablet. Nice bit of sportswear. Maybe he's the coach. We're of the same mind. Good, good. That's what we need. Zico looking a little pensive. ultimately I think he's happy. And here we are into the press conference, and well, obviously as one of Brazil's most famous footballers, one of their most loved footballers as well, Zico's not going to have any problem with the fans. I think everyone will be pleased to see him. The press, I mean, he's been a successful manager, and they're congratulating him here, and they want to know what our plan is and preferred system is. Well, I can reveal now we're definitely going to be going with the Tele Santana Brazil 1982 tactics and formations. So I guess we have our own ideas. I don't know what the previous formations were. Obviously, I don't know that. Zico, I'm sure, would. But it's basically Zico's way. He's going to come in. He's going to introduce beautiful football. That's what we want. Short passing, attacking, exciting football. And Zico's saying there is first job is to teach my brand of football. Yeah, that's cool. Happy with that. It's a good response. And if no one wants to play beautiful football, then they're off. And what style of football will we be playing? Well, I think that's pretty clear. It's going to be Jogo Bonito, the beautiful game. I want to put on a show. I mean, a big part of that Brazil 1982 side, and I'm sure Zico's philosophy as well, was clean sportsmanlike football. That was key. Fouling, rough stuff, not really a part of that, but putting on a show certainly was. So that's what we're going for. I want to put on a show. And as Zico says there, you can't blame the people for wanting to see results. We want a good show as well. Didn't quite work in 1982. I'm not going to refer to that too much, but that is going to be the blueprint that we use. We want to win with style, and that's what... I mean, if you're playing good football, even if you don't go up, at least it's interesting to watch. It's the reverse Jose Mourinho. You can win stuff, but in a way that makes it painful to turn up and watch. Anyway, so there we are. First press conference. I assume that went well. I don't know. And yeah, cool. So, new layout, new look. We've got followers on some unknown... well, it might be total followers across all social media, maybe 38,000. I don't know how that's going to progress. That'll be interesting. So there we are. Zico, eager to put his own stamp on the club, will sell on players that don't fit his style, says, I guess, the press. Says maybe the summary of his first press conference. That could potentially cause some disharmony in the changing room. He's put down a marker saying that anyone who doesn't want to play the way that Zico wants is out on their ear. Who knows? We'll find out. So the first thing that we do every single time is we go and look at the game plan. We go and look at the formation and style of football we're going to be playing this season. And as you may have heard me mention once or twice, it's going to be Tele Santana's Brazil 1982 lineup. That's what we're going to model ourselves on this season. I think it's going to be very interesting. So essentially, we start with 4 at the back. That's fine. I don't think there's a huge amount to change there. Obviously, the right and left backs will be bombing on. That is a big feature of this side. We have a centre forward up top. That's absolutely fine. So they played with essentially one winger, which was Adair, and he did play as a winger. But to be fair, all of these positions did interchange quite a lot. Then they had basically 2 men in front of the defence. I think one of them's going to be a DMF, one of them's going to be a CMF. And that was Falcao and Cerezo. So what was interesting then is it wasn't really a symmetrical formation as such. We had Zico playing in the number 10 role here. That's about right as an attacking mid. And then out on the right side, but also really part of the midfield, was Dr. Socrates, one of my favourite players of all time. Those of you who watched the last series will know that I absolutely love a tall, rangy, gliding sort of attacking player, and that was certainly Socrates. An intelligent man as well. A smoker, which I don't know why I like, but I think I do. But yeah, so he sort of played there. And this was essentially known as the Magic Square, I think. Or the Square of Power Square, or the Square of Truth. I don't know. We can call it what we want. This was where the real damage was done. Short passing between these 4, and then eventually working it in towards the striker, or maybe linking up with the winger as well. It's an unorthodox one, but it's one I'm quite excited about. I think it's going to be interesting. So what's really going to make a big difference here is the sort of attacking instructions we use. So obviously possession game is going to be the way that we play. It's all about expressive, creative football, lots of little triangles, moving the ball quickly, retaining possession. So it's got to be possession game, no doubt about that. So a short pass through the centre and definitely flexible positioning. All the players swapping positions, moving around, making it difficult for the opposition, and quite a low support range as well. And that is going to link up nicely with our advanced instruction, which is going to be tiki-taka. The first time I think I've ever played with tiki-taka, certainly in any of these series. And we're also going to use attacking fullbacks because those Brazilian left and right backs certainly bombed on. Was it the reason that they lost to Italy in the quarterfinal? Yes, it probably was. They kept attacking, they went for the win, they only needed a draw. It didn't go well. But that's pretty much it. That's in terms of advanced instructions. Very pleased with that. I think it's going to be interesting. Counter target is going to be used. That centre forward wants to stay up there, stretching the play a bit. They did play with quite a big, imposing centre forward as well. I think his name was Serginho. He wasn't the most attractive player, wasn't the most skillful player, but he scored a lot of goals. So defensive instructions, I'm not 100% sure, really. I can't find a huge amount of information. Weirdly, when people write about this side, the 1982 Brazil side, they don't really talk much about the defence other than that they were essentially more attackers, or that they didn't really do a huge amount of it. So I'm going to go with, I don't think they would have been frontline pressure. I think in that era, probably they just sat back, out of possession. Yeah. I mean, maybe someone can fill me in on this in more detail. I'd be happy to hear anything. That seems about right, just sort of middle of the road. But that's how it's going to look. And yeah, it's going to be fun. Short passing is not something that we've done. So the last series was Marcelo Bielsa's sort of signature tactics, fast counter-attacking side, fairly long passing, fairly rigid formation as well. Before that, we had Karim Diakra, the arch pragmatist, big centre forward, lofting it up to him, playing off them. They both worked well. We did well with both, but this is really going to be a learning experience for me. It's a very different type of football. So yeah, we're going to have to see how this pans out, but learning slightly different controls with PES 2020, plus learning almost a new way of playing. It's going to be a test, and as you can see here, this has absolutely tanked our team spirit, 44 team spirit, but it generally doesn't take too long to build that back up, so that's going to be the aim. So what we need to do now is work out who the best player is for each position. Now, fans of Ponte Preta will notice that this team isn't quite up to date. Anyone who's been on Twitter talking about PES will know that the Brazilian leagues haven't been fully updated by Konami in the most recent transfer update. It's fine. Serie A, I went through and I basically did all the transfers manually. Ponte Preta, I went and bought in every single player that I could that's in the game. We're missing a couple, but actually, having looked on Transfer Market and all those places, none of the new signings are particularly important players to this side that I can see. So we've got a few players who aren't there anymore, and we're missing a few who are there. And luckily, I was able to bring in a player who I think is going to be really important for us. We're going to start at the top with our centre forward. Marlisson, 22-year-old. I think he's actually a youth prospect at Ponte Preta. Luckily, he is not going to be our starting striker. But the man who is, and we've had a big Rog before, so maybe we're going to have to think of a different name. But it is going to be Roger. Yes, he is only recently signed for Ponte Preta. And he's 34 years old, so he's not getting any younger, but he is a Campinas boy, born and bred. He actually started his career in 2004 at Ponte Preta. In fact, he was a youth player there as well, so he's come home after what can only really be described as a journeyman career, but he's a good player. He's not going to get any better, but for this level, 81 physical contact, it's a little bit slow. I hate the colours of the stats this year, but we're going to have to adapt. But 79 offensive awareness, 75 finishing, 80 heading, that's going to do the job, I think, against defences in Serie B. So, really happy with that. Really, really happy. Left wing role, who's the best there? So, looks like it is Julio Cesar. Don't know anything about him. 68 rated. Yeah, I think he's the best one there, is he? Yes, he is. Let's take a quick look. He's right-footed, creative playmaker. Decent on the ball, pretty quick. He'll do a job. I think he'll do a job. Now, these two attacking midfielders here are going to be absolutely key. I'm sure in terms of negotiations, we're maybe going to have a look at who we could bring in because, yeah, we want to get a Zico-like player in there. But for now, who are our best attacking midfielders? Thiago Real, 72 there. That's pretty good. Anyone else? Any good there? Not really. So it might well be Thiago Real. It might depend on who our central midfielders are. Do we have any decent centre mids? Not really. We might be lacking a bit there. It might be this guy, Gerson, and then we do have a DMF, but he's only 64 rated. Igor, we're going to have to work out there, but let's take a look at Thiago Real. Another 30-year-old. We don't have much in the way of youth. Good passer, though. I like these stats. Like it. Yeah. Cultured. Yeah. Not going to be running around at the pace of Zico, but he does have a talented right foot on him by the looks of it. Yep. Through passing, pinpoint crossing, long ball expert. Yeah, nice. He'll fit in well there. To his right-hand side in the Socrates role, we've got Matthew Vargas. 23 years old. Interesting. Not sure either, so that's fine. It doesn't have to be tall to play in the Socrates role, but it would be nice. Yeah, fairly decent all-rounder. I mean, the Reds don't suggest that, but he does have, 70s and speed, acceleration, and he's 70 overall rated at attacking mid, so that's fine. So these two positions here, So these two positions here, central midfield, defensive midfield, maybe we are going to have to upgrade there a bit. Left back, Diego Renan in there at the moment. We've got Giovanni as well, who's 71 rated. Looks like we've got some options in defence. That's interesting. So Diego Renan is 29 years old. Giovanni, the other option, is 30 years old. So yeah, it's a little bit quicker, a little bit stronger, not as good a passer. Yep, happy with Diego Renan. Reginaldo, the only man with a real face. Maybe. He's in there, 72 rated. I don't think we're going to beat that. Nope, and we're not going to beat it with Renan Fonseca as well, who is our captain at the moment. He's a 29-year-old youth prospect. He's a big lad, pretty strong, I like it. And then Arnaldo at right back, Andre Castro an option, not a very good one. Luis Ricardo, 70 rated. So we're actually okay for right and left backs. I think we've got a couple of 70 plus rated players in both positions. That's promising. Backline, not ideal, but not awful. It's definitely those two holding midfielders and the winger that we need to improve on. And then, well, one of probably our most exciting players is not Igor, the 64 rated keeper. Oh, it's not Guillaume either, the other 62 rated keeper. But it is Ivan, or Ivan, who knows. But he's actually a Brazil international, interestingly, and he's only 22 years old. So he is probably our most exciting prospect. Hopefully not a player that we have to sell to bring in more funds, but you never know. So yeah, quite happy about the defence, not so happy about those two. And Big Rog up top, I think it's going to do bits, as they say, the kids say these days. Who do we want to bring onto the bench? Zico looks okay. Doesn't really play in any of the positions that we need. He's a right winger, which we don't have. We can take out Igor Maduro, he's not very good. 64 rated right back. Can come out. And then we've not got a huge amount here, I guess. Castro. I know we've got a better right back. Anyway, we'll work out what our bench is going to be, but there we are. That's it, really. So, 52 team spirit at the moment. Zico's got some work to do on the training pitch. We've got some work to do in terms of negotiations. But there we have it. An exciting, short passing, attacking side. Beautiful football, flair, creativity. Is that actually going to happen? That remains to be seen. So, into the negotiations we go. Before we get going in the negotiations, I'm going to take you through the transfer rules. This is a fairly major part of this series. We're pretty strict with these, and they've changed slightly since last year. So listen in, because if you want to make suggestions around players for us to sign, then you need to be following these rules. So, here they are. First of all, we have the now 6-year-old 6 degrees of Sherwood rule. That basically means that outside of players found via the scouts, we can only sign players that are playing for a team that has a connection with our manager Zico. Luckily, we've got loads and loads of really good teams to deal with this year. Zico has been around. I think that's fair to say. So we could deal with, for example, Kashima Antlers. That's a good one. The entire nation of Japan, we can deal with them as he managed their national team. That's a nice little tweak to that one. It's sort of part of the Ferguson principle, but we'll get onto that in a second. Fenerbahce, that's a good one. CSKA Moscow, nice. Olympiacos, the nation of Iraq, interesting. FC Goa, I don't think they're in it. And Al Gharafa, who might be in the Asian League type thing, I don't know. But anyway, some good stuff there. And as I mentioned, the Ferguson principle, that is active. That basically means that if the manager has played at international level for any side, then you can sign anyone from that nation. So we've got Japan because he managed Japan, but we've also got the entire nation of Brazil because he played for Brazil. So we've got a big bank of players to deal with there, especially with 2 Brazilian leagues. So we're not going to have too much trouble finding players within linked sides. This does actually extend further. The 6 degrees of Sherwood has a little bit of license to roam. So basically, we could find a player that Zico has played with, maybe in the Brazil 1982 team, did I mention them? And if they're managing a side, then we could buy a player from that side. So basically, think of it as, who could Zico ring up and be like, hey, hello, have you got any players that I could sign? That started Brazilian accent there, but I quickly realised that's a bad idea. So that's how it works. So you can find me some interesting ones. I'll be all ears. So the overall limit for our signings is based upon the highest rated player in our side. So let's take a look at our team. I think the highest rated player is, Diego Renan. Decent left back, 29 years old. Thiago Real, I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be Real good. It's probably not Real, is it? It's probably Thiago Real. I don't know. I don't know. But 72 rated is the highest we can go. I've said OVR, it's actually OPR, but OVR, that's how I say it, I don't know, overall rating. So we can only sign players rated 72. So we can only sign players rated 72 or below. It's pretty simple. As we get better players, that goes up. So this is where we change things slightly this year. In the past, we've only had one loan and one free transfer available per season. We're doubling that now for both of them, mainly because the Brazilian leagues, particularly Serie B, seem to rely quite heavily on loan and free transfers. So I feel it's fairly realistic to be able to do that. Now I see we've only got a 2 million salary budget compared to 97 million transfer budget. That is a fairly large transfer budget, they were not lying. But it's always going to be the salary budget that's the problem. And being able to make loan signings, 2 loan signings this year is going to really help us with that, because obviously we don't have to pay their wages. So another new change is we're only going to be scouting within South America or South American countries. We're not going to be scouting in Europe, that's just not realistic. Ponte Preta do not have the funds to be sending scouts to Europe or Asia or anywhere else. So that's how it's going to work. So scouted players are really important, as that means you're actually likely to be able to sign them. So we are going to have the link clubs, which you can deal with, but it's going to be very difficult to attract them to a Serie B side in the Brazilian leagues. But the scouted players, they have built in a sort of a level of negotiation that the scout has already done to make it easier. But we can only do that within South America, which is going to be fine. Plenty of good talent to be had there, but that's a new one this season. And the final rule is we're only going to allow ourselves, and this is going to be difficult because you want to, especially we've got Japan, you want to be able to go out and use all the link teams, sign loads of great players. But for realism's sake, we're only going to allow ourselves one non-South American player per season via the link sides. So, you know, we can look in Japan, Iraq, we can look at Olympiacos, Fenerbahce. There's a lot of exciting players to be had there, but only one per season. That could be one of the free transfers or one of the loans. I guess that would make sense, maybe. So a quick look at the other teams. If I'm right, yes, there are some of our loaned players. So, Fluminense have loaned us for Ronaldo. His loan ends in December this year, so he's going to be here for the rest of the season. He's a big player for us. In fact, he is our highest rated centre-back. He's worth 22 million. Pretty high salary as well. He's a good player. It's a good loan signing, but we will be losing him at the end of the season. Ayrton and Julio Cesar, not quite as important for us, but we need to be aware that we will need to replace them come the end of the season. Pretty cool that they've sorted that out. Pretty cool. It's something that's been needed for a while. It's good to see it implemented. So scouting wise, as we said, we're going to be keeping it within South America. They've already set one up for us here, but we don't want that because that's all over the world. So let's go for, I mean, we might as well just try South America. We do want to consider, but no, we don't want to consider budget. And we'll try bolster weak spots, always worth a go. And in a team full of aging players, I think we are going to look for some still developing talent. A lot of people, or some, well, not a lot of people, some people complain that I only buy young players. Fair enough, maybe that isn't as realistic as it could be. We do need another striker. I don't think Roger's going to be able to do it on his own, so we're going to look for a centre forward, and we're going to look in, let's look for an Argentinian centre forward. Let's look still developing, I don't care what you say, and we'll go ignore as well. And then we also need a central midfielder. We probably need a central midfielder more than we need a striker. So we'll go with that. I think again, we're going to look in Brazil this time. And we're going to go for overall rating. And we're going to ignore again. So there we are. Scouts, do your business. Do your best. So unfortunately, that's where we're going to end this episode. We're not going to be playing a game today. In the next episode, we'll get into the advanced search. We'll look at some of the link teams. If you've got any suggestions for that, then let me know. We'll start building up our transfer list. And let's take a look at the schedule. How long do we have left in this transfer window? Yeah, so we've got one game within the transfer window. So we're going to get that done in the next episode. Our first game was straight into the Copa Brazil, into the first leg against Fortaleza. We've never won a Copa Brazil, so that's certainly a goal for us. Looks like you go straight in to another Copa Brazil game if you win that. Hang on, what? It's just one whole thing. Copa Continental. You know, I don't understand any of the way this works, but it looks like we could win a cup straight away. If not, then we're into the first Serie B game day of the season. Interesting. We're learning a lot already about the Brazilian leagues. And that is us done for the setup. Join me again on Monday. Oh yeah, so the schedule is Monday, Friday, Master League. Wednesday will become a legend. Yes, only 3 episodes a week this year, but bear in mind, I do have a new baby on the way in a matter of weeks. So even that might be a stretch to begin with, but I'm just trying to be realistic. So I hope you're not too disappointed, but that's just how the cookie crumbles this year. So join me, as I said, on Monday as we get into our first game straight into the Copa Brazil. We're going to get into the link size, we're going to try and make some signings. It's going to be a hell of a laugh. Do come and join me. Hit that like button, as I mentioned, and I'll see you in a bit.